Sorry about that, man. I had to take a quick break. We had somebody come in here do some work. But look, so we are on second base. Okay, so how you get from first home to first is through class 101. At the end of class 101, then you're plugged into a small group leader. We're plugging you a small group, and you fill out a membership covenant. Okay, you fill out a membership covenant. At the end of class 101. So now we have you, and that once we have you as a member of your own base one, our goal now is not for you to just to sit and take up a pew. We want to get you to move from not just being part of the congregation, but to be part of the committed. And that's spiritual maturity. So now we're trying to get you to second base. Second base is that spiritual maturity. That's that maturity base. You can see it right here. That's discipleship. All right, that's discipleship. So that's class 201. At the culmination of class 201, you fill out a maturity covenant. Maturity covenant, you're committing to a few things, some core things: a daily time with God, weekly tithe to God, committed to being on a team for God, which means being a part of a small group. You're in that, you're faithful in your small groups and fellowship. So that's what happens at 201. You're now at the maturity level. You're growing in your walk with God. So worship, magnification goes on in the crowd. Maturity, that goes on right there. That goes on with the congregation. With the congregation. That goes on in the, hold on, let me see. Maturity, yes. So, maturity goes on with the committed. So with the committed, we're getting involved in hold on. So we got magnification in the crowd. Then we have membership goes on with the congregation. That's the congregation. That's fellowship. Fellowship goes on in the congregation. I'm sorry. So membership, fellowship goes on in the congregation. What's that? That's small groups. That's small groups. Okay? All right. So we magnify in the crowd. Then with the congregation, we've got the small groups. That's fellowship and begin to grow in their maturity. And then once we've gotten that fellowship, what happens next? Magnification in the crowd. Fellowship or membership goes on in the congregation, and then what happens is maturity goes on with the committed. All right, maturity goes on with the committed. So what happens is with the committed, those are those ones who are now they've completed class 201. They're on second base. They're on second base. If you completed class 201, you're on second base. All right? We've moved. We've gotten to know Christ. Now, I'm on this up. Gotten to know Christ. Now we're part of the body of Christ as a member of the body of Christ, a member of the fellowship. You've completed class 101. And now what happens is fellowship, we're plugging you in, getting ready to plug you into a small group right here. We're plugging you into a small group, and then now we're trying to get you to this maturity level. Okay, now you're part right here. You're part of the congregation. You're part of the congregation here. Here you're the crowd. You're part of the congregation here. We want to get you in small groups, and our goal to get you in small groups is to get you a part of the committed right here. All right, congregation, committed. This what we're trying to do right here. That's maturity. You complete class 201. You fill out your spiritual growth covenant. And now you're committed. Now, what happens with the committed? What our goal is eventually I see us doing a midweek service for the committed. A midweek service for the committed. All right? That midweek service for us right now would be our committed. If you look at our model now, our committed would be those ones who come out on Friday night. Okay, those are ones who maybe not necessarily doing ministry, but they're committed to Bible study. And so what we want to do with the committed, these are the maturing believers. And so for us, if you look at the parallel at WCC, our Sunday morning service, if you listen to our messages, our sermons are geared toward that committed crowd. The sermons are usually at WCC very meaty, our length of the sermon, you can tell, are geared toward that committed crowd. But on Sunday morning, that's the time you're going to more apt get a visitor that's part of that crowd, that's not a committed person. They may not even be in the faith. So what you want to do is not to alienate them. You don't want to alienate the people in the crowd, and at the same time, you don't want it to be so watered down that you alienate committed people. So what you do I see a midweek service that's geared towards the committed, and that's not like a Bible study format like we have, but a midweek worship service where even the time of worship, either the nature of the message is geared more toward that mature believer, that language that we use in the body of Christ. That crowd, okay, it's something that they jive with, they get. That's one. If you have a friend who's a believer, you can invite him to that midweek service. Who's more committed, and there'll be more content. I guess if you would say, during that midweek service. So I see the midweek service being geared toward the committed. Also during our midweek service, I would see us doing our children's ministry and youth. So you have children and youth during the midweek service. So it was actually proposed. We talked about Awana. I just spoke to Sister McKinney, and she's talking to someone with child evangelism, because where our manpower is, we're trying to grow our children's ministry right now. Her idea was, if we do that midweek service, she going to get the woman from child evangelism to agree to every week almost do like a 5-day club every week, every Wednesday, midweek. It'll be an ongoing throughout the year 5-day club for our children, just like Awana. So either we could plug in with Awana with another church, but if we're going to do it, we invite child evangelism from the outside in. They're already staffed. They have their young people who are missionaries. They come in on our Wednesday night and almost do like Vacation Bible School, but all year long throughout the year on Wednesday night. You can do that. And then with our teenagers, we do our teen time during that time. Now with our teens, again, we'll be having 2 tiers. I want to do more bridge events and evangelistic type events for those ones who are not yet in the faith and babies, but also have an invitation-only discipleship group for teenagers. Kind of like beginning to build up student leaders in that discipleship group. All right. So those would meet on Wednesday night. Okay, on Wednesday night. So we have the committed. That's that maturity level. All right. And now we're on second base. Now the goal, once they've gotten committed, the whole idea, if you can see the picture, it's like, okay, I'm a part of the body of Christ. Now I know I need to grow. Now that I'm seeing I need to grow, by growing in the word, I'm saying that, listen, this is not just for me to sit. I got to move. I got to serve. So that's reaching to show men his love. Reaching to show his love, that's ministry. Okay, that's third base is ministry. So third base ministry, again, I might be being redundant because I got caught up on the video. Ministry is third base. What that is, what we do, we have class 301. Between second and third base is class 301. What it is, discovering your shape, discovering your design for ministry, helping people understand what God created them, how he created them, and getting them to commit to a ministry. Nobody at Archer, the goal is for nobody to sit. Somebody needs to be served. Everybody, whether you're a greeter, whether you're on the hospitality ministry, whether you're in the worship ministry, whether you're in children's ministry, everybody's got something that they can do. And there are ministries that we need to launch in the community. God's given me vision for what I call a none of these diseases. It's as a healthy food pantry for our community. So, these are other kind of ideas that we need to give people opportunity to launch ministry. So now they discover their shape for ministry. Once they've completed that class 301, they sign a ministry covenant to commit that I will going to be a part and plug into a ministry. Now, once they plug into a ministry, each ministry will have terms. Unlike how we are now, where somebody gets on a ministry and they serve until death, you're going to sign a ministry covenant. But with every ministry, we need to have standards. We need to have also a term where they sign and say, listen, I'm committing to serve for a period of 12 months. After that 12 months, we will reevaluate. My performance will be reevaluated, and I will reevaluate whether I want to do this. So you don't feel like, okay, I just can't move from one thing to the other. You commit to 12 months. After that 12 months, we reevaluate everything to keep everything fresh, to give people opportunity to maybe try different ministry. They may get involved in children's ministry, say, I don't like kids. I don't like doing this. You're committed for 12 months. You're not, nobody's locking you into it for 30 years. Okay? So you have to give a 12-month commitment, then we reevaluate it after that. And then, because we have standards that allows us to keep people accountable. What happens too often, we don't have terms, we don't have accountability. People serve, people slack off, and there's no accountability. If we're doing that and we're checking regularly, then when people are not meeting up to their to the standards of the ministry, then boom, we have grounds to say, listen, this is what you committed to, and this is not what's happening. So we're gonna, choose to move on to another direction. Okay, so that's the ministry covenant, and that's the ministry commitment. Everybody, a 12-month term. All right, so there's no more social committee for life, no more praise and worship team for life. You can move through. All right. So now I've discovered my shape for ministry. I'm involved in ministry. I've completed class 301. Once I've completed class 301 and I'm involved in ministry, I recognize that ministry, the whole goal of ministry is to reach to show men his love, so that now they can be brought in to the crowd, so that they can become a part of the congregation. And that's missions. Okay. Missions. Really getting outside of the four walls. We want to become an externally focused church, not internally focused. So everybody now, once they discovered their shape for ministry, said, listen, this faith was for me to give away, not for me to keep to myself. And so what we want to do is get people involved in missions, local and international missions. All right. Now we have that's what class 401 is. That class is on missions. Actually, class 401, will be discovering and plugging them in to enlist people in worldwide mission of sharing Christ. To enlist people in the worldwide mission of sharing Christ. My goal in class 401 is to, at that time, once people complete 401, have everybody commit to a short-term missions trip, whether it's international or whether it's local or whether it's stateside. Everybody gets to get an opportunity to go on short-term missions. Okay, to plug into a short-term mission project, whether locally, whether abroad. And there's so many missions opportunities, even on stateside. Don't have to go international, but a short-term mission trip. Everybody, once they've completed 401, to plug into a short-term mission project. Okay, and my idea is for us to have some that we're partnered with regularly, so people don't have to figure out, oh, maybe I'll go online to figure out a mission trip. That we as a body and those who are ahead of in that mission director will have some set aside for us to plug into. So that led me into this. When we talk about mission director, we went through the bases. Okay, now we're back at mission. At every base, you need to have a leader. Okay, just like in baseball, you have a first base coach, third, you have a coaches. Well, we need to have a director at every base. So in magnification, that's our worship director. All right, worship and arts. Currently, right now, I'm serving that position. The idea is to talk to Brother Cook, Sister Janet, and say, listen, we want you to take over this worship position. That worship position is not just music, but it's all going into planning and setting atmosphere in the church. Okay, setting atmosphere in the congregation. Okay, if I can read it to you, what goes on in each one, that would be really cool. So let me do this. Man, I wish I could have paused that. Give me 1 second. Applying my purposes. Okay, here we go. We organize around our purposes. Oh, where is it, man? Where is it? Okay, here we go. All right, we talk about structure and on purposes. Okay, if you have this page, Dave, I'm not sure if you have it, but Here we got the missions. You have all five purposes of the church. Missions. The mission team design is assigned the purpose of evangelism. The target is the community. All right, that's those people on the outside. Remember, we talked those on the outside. Want trying to move them in. The goal is to move from everybody from outside in. Their job is to plan, promote, oversee all of the church's bridge events. Those are outreach events that we're trying to get people in to be able to connect with people, because people get saved out of relationship. Also, they also do evangelism training, including Class 401, evangelistic activities and programs and mission projects. They are to organize whatever it takes to reach our community and our world for Christ. That is the missions team. Then magnification or worship or music. This team is assigned the purpose of worship. The target is the crowd. Okay, that's the center. This is magnification, all right? Their job is to plan, oversee the weekend service, special worship and events, and to provide music and worship resources for the rest of the church. Membership. That for us right now, we call it body life. This is that fellowship. This team is assigned the purpose of fellowship. The target is the congregation. All right. And their business is to care for the flock. They run our monthly class for members, class 301. Prospective members, class 101, oversee all support groups, weddings, funerals, pastoral care, hospital visitation, benevolence within the congregation. They operate the counseling center. Again, that's another thing. Pastors should not be doing all the counseling. That goes on, and the membership team. The membership team, they coordinate the counseling and all those things. Then the maturity team, that's discipleship. The maturity team is assigned the purpose of discipleship. Their target is the committed. Goal is to lead members to deeper spiritual commitment and help them develop a spiritual maturity. This team operates Class 201 and is responsible for the Life Development Institute, the midweek worship service, all Bible studies, and growth groups in the homes. That was the name that God gave me for those groups anyway, growth groups, and special church-wide spiritual growth campaigns. All right. And then the ministry team. This team is assigned the purpose of ministry. Their target is the core, launching the core into ministry. Turn members into ministers by helping them discover how God has shaped and designed them for ministry, i.e. their spiritual gifts, guiding them to find either an existing place for ministry or launch a new ministry. All right. And they are responsible for Class 301 and what they call it Saddleback Advanced Leadership Training. But with our core, we're going to be doing leadership training too within our core leaders. So that's just kind of how the design. That's how we go through the baseball diamond. Okay, how we go through the baseball diamond. So let me walk you through. Number one, someone walks into the doors of the church. They come in and we magnify him in the crowd. We're magnifying with worship that is like that strikes a chord with that person who's unchurched. When they do that, they make a commitment. They come to the altar and they say, listen, I want to know more about this guy. They want to know more about him and who he is and what this church is all about. Boom. What they do, then we plug them in. We get them connected. All right. We get them connected. Once they come in, they fill out a membership card. Someone follows up with them. All right. We can even invite them to Class 101. Class 101. That person, they may not be a believer yet, but we want to invite them to Class 101, understanding what the faith is. The whole goal is even after that they come to know Christ. Or the other person is he comes to the altar, he gets saved. We plug them right into Class 101. They come to know what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be a part of this church, and they sign a commitment to say, I'm here. This is where God has called me. Boom. When we do that, they are now introduced to our the small. We find out where they live, find a small group leader in their area, plug them into that small group, and also tell them once you Class 101, get them headed towards Class 201. Class 201 is now where they're developing their in maturity. They're growing. That's it. So that's spiritual growth. So they're in Class 201, and we have. I'm not sure what times we decided that these classes. Each one will be about 4 sessions. Class 201. They'll be learning the core spiritual disciplines that we want everybody to commit to: time with God, prayer, tithing, and then once they complete Class 201, once they complete Class 201, they're already involved in a small group. The goal for them to already be involved in the small group. Once they hit 101, already involved in the small group, they go to 201, complete 201. Now they're on second base, developing as a mature Christian. As a mature Christian, now they're part of that committed group. They're a committed group. And the committed group, as a mature Christian, we want them being involved in our midweek service. That it is designed to build those up in the faith and the maturity along with their Bible study. What's going on during midweek, we're reaching our children and our youth during our midweek service. And once they're on second base, now we want to commit. They've committed to these disciplines, but now we want to start directing them in their, especially our small group leaders, begin to talk to them about the importance of plugging into ministry. All right. And now we get them in class 301. Class 301 is discovering their shape for ministry and give them a chance to get exposed to different ministries and to commit to being involved in a particular ministry group. And having completed that, now we're plugging them into class 401, where we're launching people into local, international, and national missions. Okay, and we just continue the cycle. And when we go out, we're going out doing that, and then we're inviting people in from the community. Okay, and then we're trying to get them to be a part of the crowd. Okay, as the crowd, when they're in the crowd, they're inside the building. We want to move them from in the crowd inside the building to first base as a part of the congregation. Once we move them on to first base, they're part of the congregation. They go into class 101. They commit them in 201. We wanted them to get committed. They're part of the congregation. We want them to be committed. That's spiritual maturity, class 201. And then we want them to get involved in missions, class 301. All right, get involved and start serving, longing to know. Okay, longing to know, striving to grow. That's fellowship and growth. Longing to know, that's ministry. Reaching the show, that's ministry. All right, so that's it, guys. And then if you look at the diagram right here, we got it. No God right here. Grow in His Word. All right, show men His love, and then go tell the world. All right, knowing God, grow in His Word, show His love, and go tell the world. That's all on the diamond. All right. I'm just kind of talking it out. Hopefully it jives through. I'm about to send this to you on YouTube, bro. So hit me later and what I can make more clear. All right. Peace.